What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Plotting for Success podcast. Today, we're coming at you with something a little bit different. It's hunting related to a certain extent, but quite frankly, it's more important than just hunting itself. It's going to be talking about our rights to hunt, and before that comes the right to vote and taking advantage of that. And that's something that we kind of want to talk about. And we got a special guest that we want to talk about this stuff with. So, Doug, go ahead and drop an intro for Luke, and let's get this ball rolling. Let's see what we got cooking for today.
All right. Well, hey, thank you very much for coming on board, Luke. I was on your podcast here a little bit ago. We did one, and after talking with you and Keith Mark, and then Josh Ishmael and everybody came on board, and we were chatting about it. What a great thing that you guys are trying to get out there and try to really educate what I call the public, or mostly the hunters. So why don't you just dive into it, Luke, and explain a little bit about what your organization's all about, what direction you're trying to get us fellow hunters in, and kind of explain a little bit about your goals in this.
Sure. So thank you, Doug, and thank you, Brett, for having me on, guys. It's exciting to be with you. And our goals are very simple. I run an organization called Hunter Nation and Hunter Nation Foundation. And we have a project running right now called Hunt the Vote. Hunt the Vote is very simple in concept. I joined this organization about 18 months ago, and the founders came to me at that time and said, one of the biggest problems we're trying to address is that hunters don't vote. And I paused for a second, because I've made my life in politics and government. I've run organizations across the entire country, and that just didn't sit right with me. I've always thought that hunters like myself were pretty reliable voting bloc, that we saw the importance of going out and being active participants in our democracy, picking our leaders, because those are the people that impact the policy that allows us to either go to the outdoors or not. And so I went back and I did the research, and I pulled the hunting numbers from all 50 states, looked at the numbers of licensed hunters in America who are of voting age, and then bumped that up with a voter roll over the last two election cycles. So it looked at 2016 and 2018. Less than 50% of licensed hunters in America, so 15 million of us nationwide, less than 50%, just over 7 million of us, saw it fit to get to the polls in 2016. It's a real problem. And this block of people can be the difference makers. And so we started Hunt the Vote project with two goals in mind: to identify, persuade, and activate these hunters to get out there and vote their values. And it's not to elect a politician. It's literally to protect the future of hunting. We talk to people across the board and try and figure out, why aren't hunters out there voting? Two most common answers we hear: I'm just one man. What does my one voice really matter? And then number two, there ain't no way they're going to tell me I can't go hunting. And all I had to do was push back and say, oh, really? Look what they did to us here in the state of Wisconsin, Doug, and you know this very well, right? The pandemic hits. What's the first thing our governor did? Goes out and tries to ban our youth turkey hunt from moving forward because it was going to be held on public land. He tried to ban kids from getting to the outdoors. Second thing his administration did is cancel all hunter education courses across the board. Pushing us out of the woods is their bottom line goal. And so to say those two things, my voice doesn't matter. It does, because here I'm here to tell you, there's 7 million people out there in the country who believe that and didn't go show up to the polls and didn't make their voices heard. And now look at where we are, right? Politicians only have to take you into account if you actually show up and vote. You got to put some fear in them that if they don't vote the right way on these policies that impact our lifestyle, then we're not going to vote them into office. And that's our goal at Hunt the Vote, is to bring this group of people back to the voting booth and making it as important as heading to your hunting stand or hunting lease, right? It's that important, absolutely imperative that hunters vote to pick our leaders to impact the policies that impact our lifestyle.
Oh,
that's what we're doing.
And, I always sit there and I try to tell a lot of my customers, I said, for every action, there's a reaction. And, if you people, and I know I've mentioned this to you before, Luke, I had a couple guys come in, now it was a couple months ago. Everybody's coming to get their seed, for planting. And I had a couple customers come in and they sat on the couch in our warehouse and we're visiting. And I said, I just asked you guys a crazy question, just simple question. I said, I don't care what your political views are. I said, I'm not here to ask that. I said, do you guys vote? And they both looked at me and they said, no. We have, the last time we voted was, you know, a few years ago. I said, did you vote for in the last presidential election? No, because our vote don't matter. And I looked at them and I'm like, well, you guys are hunters, right? Well, yeah, well, of course, that's why we're here buying seed. And I said, your voice does matter. It matters. It matters. So I said, if you take you two along with another two and another two and another two and another two and another four, another 100, another 1,000, another million, it adds up. You know, so, you know, and it's about, and I don't know, I grew up in a day, you know, it's going to date me. I'm pretty old, but I grew up in a day where you never talked about religion and politics. You just never did, ever. And in the society today, when we're fighting for our freedoms, I'm noticing more and more and more people are talking about God, and they're talking about rights and wrongs and what direction we should go in. That it's moral issues and values, and you know, hunting is such a family. I was born up as it was a family oriented state, a way of living. You know, it just was. We all went. You know, we didn't have a hunting camp because we're blessed to live on a farm that I'm still living on, but we would still get up in the morning and go hunting as a family, and you know, we come back and we shot a deer. We didn't shoot a deer. We lived off the land. And you know, these people are not understanding, especially the children today. You know, so I mean, parents, if you want to preserve this for your children, eventually, you got to get out there and vote and vocalize your opposition to what they're trying to basically jam down our throats. And sometimes doing it in the back door where we don't even see it. Hidden little agendas or hidden little things in their laws and rules that they make, and all of a sudden, well, we didn't see that. Well, it was in there. You should have read it. You know, I'm like, really? You know, so I get it, Luke, what you're spot on with all of that. It's frustrating.
I want to take advantage of this situation too, because I'll be honest, I was part of the problem, and we can talk about this and what my thoughts were and then what changed my mind. I mean, it was one of those things. I was like, I'm one guy, and like, does this whole process, does my little vote like really make a difference and stuff like that? And then was it the what was the big act that just passed, Luke, for the public lands? Do you remember what?
Great American Outdoors Act.
Great American Outdoors Act. Yeah. So that came into effect, and that got passed, and I was like, huh, you know, like this stuff. I mean, if it wouldn't have, you know, been passed, it could have caused some restrictions as far as public lands, and it could have affected hunting overall. And quite frankly, hunting is one of the things I love the most. So then I started thinking about it, and I was kind of one of those guys that sit on the sidelines, and I was like, okay, well, what does it hurt if I at least voice my opinion and I go vote? Because I'm not making any sort of difference if I just sit here. At least maybe if I don't have trust in the system and it does or doesn't work, it doesn't hurt for me to take a little bit of time, register to vote, and maybe just start doing a little bit more research, you know, start seeing what's going on in our world. And then now with the movements that are taking place in our world right now, from a political standpoint, I always just like to stay out of politics. It was just my way of just hiding from it all. But in reality, if we all hide from it, we're not going to get anywhere. That's what I realized. And I got a little bit worried. I got flustered. I got scared. And I was like, you know, I got to register to vote. I got to voice my opinion. And you know, everybody's opinion matters. I have a very good friend and business partner who's an African American. And we sat down and we talked about a lot of these movements that are going on and stuff like that. And you know what the craziest thing was, is that we were kind of almost, there's Black Lives Matter in the way that he looked at it. And I didn't really preach all lives matter. And this is a whole different situation that we're kind of getting into, but it was kind of that we're really kind of almost saying the same thing. You know, it was kind of weird how that all worked out. But nonetheless, it was just one of those things with everything that's going on in the world. He's a big hunter. I'm a big hunter. I just felt the need to get involved, and I'm kind of disappointed in myself that I waited for how many.
Never too late.
No, and that's
Never
the point.
Too late.
And if you're motivated, and like I said, if anything else, if you just love to hunt, you love to use our public lands, you love to use those resources that we have, don't take them for granted, because when they take them, it's too late. Good luck getting those things back. So that's kind of how I viewed everything, I guess.
Amen, Brett. And you know, you're not alone in this. You know, I mean, the one thing that we have, one of the biggest benefits that we see is across the board, we have hunting celebrities from Michael Waddell to Ted Nugent to you basically name it. If you turn on the Outdoor Channel, they're a part of Hunter Nation, part of Hunt the Boat. And one of the first times I met Michael Waddell, I sat down with him and started talking about what we were doing, kind of shared a similar story to what I shared with you and your viewers. And he said, you know what, Luke, I'm going to be honest. I was part of the problem too. I just didn't see the need of going out to vote. It was intimidating, right? I don't follow politics that closely because I'm out hunting, I'm living my life. And I think that's how most hunters in America feel, is just leave me alone, right?
Yes.
Just let me do my thing. And I don't have to get involved with politics because, like Doug said in the beginning, that's one of those topics that our parents have instilled in us. Don't bring that up in polite company. Well, my whole point in this deal is it's time for us to get engaged, because whether or not we do, they're coming for us anyway, right? I mean, there's no doubt that the opposition forces that are out there, and I can track it back, I've done the research, hundreds of groups out there every day that are well-funded, well-organized, with a sole purpose of ending North American hunting as we know it. And so if we as hunters don't get engaged, get involved, and fight this fight to protect our lifestyle, that's what's coming. They're coming for it all.
It's one of those things I almost didn't think that the opposition existed. I was very closed-minded, and I didn't realize it. Well, recently I traveled out west for a wedding out in Portland. I was there a month ago. You know, Portland with everything going on right now, and it opened my eyes. Like, the other side does exist. I felt like an alien there. I just did. I mean, I couldn't believe that views were, you know, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion, their own views, and whatever else. But just the opposite does exist. You know, when we live in Midwest America, our small towns, we kind of think everybody's the same and we're all on one team and whatever. If I don't vote, my buddy's going to carry it, you know, carry the torch, and he's going to take care of it for me, because we all think the same way. We don't have to worry about the opposition. You know, the media is just kind of twisting things to make you think they're going to take our guns, but they're never going to do it, and things like that. And then you go places around the world and you go to these big cities and you realize there is an opposition, and we got to stand up for our rights and what we believe in, because that's our lifestyle. And they don't really necessarily understand that, so they don't think maybe there's a need for it or whatever the case might be. But when I traveled out there and I went to Portland, it opened my eyes and made me realize that this is a thing that we got to stand up for.
Well, and you look, you know, you look at the gun violence thing. I mean, as a whole, I mean, across the whole United States, you know, you look at the cities where the most deaths are. I mean, gun shooting deaths are, and you look at them and you're like, really? They're all killing each other over frivolous stupidity things, but yet they want to come into my farm household and say you can't have a gun.
Yeah.
Really? I mean, I get so frustrated, and that's why I'm like, I told my wife, she says, we were laughing because we had insured all our guns here not too long ago, and she says, oh my gosh, do you think you have enough guns? I said, you never have too many, ever.
No.
And never enough ammo.
Never enough. And that's, well, there's another thing, you know. We were laughing about that. I got guys that are like, I got so many guys that started reloading their own because they can't get enough, you know. They can't buy enough. So they're, heck with it. We beat the system. We'll make our own, you know. I got guys got thousands of rounds. Thousands.
That's another thing right now too. I mean, I got a little bit worried, and so I said, you know what, I'm gonna go out and buy something. I'm gonna go buy something for concealed or whatever I wasn't carrying or anything like that. And with everything going on in the world, I have no intent to use that in any harmful way ever in a million years.
Protection,
but it's just in case. It's one of those things that I have a family, and I feel the need that I need to protect my family. I'm not going out there causing any crime or doing anything that I'm not supposed to be doing. I mean, we were brought up gun safety. You take your hunter's education course, all those things. And I went out and I started looking, and everything's gone right now. It's almost impossible to get your hands on something.
Isn't
right
it
now.
Crazy?
Yeah, I was blown away by that.
It's scary, actually, you know. But
you and 3 million Americans that just went out and bought their first firearm, right?
Really,
that's the
3 million?
Really?
3 million. Firearms purchases are up 195% month over month every month this year.
Now,
3 million new gun owners in America.
I'll tell you right now, Luke, those ain't bad people. Okay,
No,
I guarantee you, those are people that are worried about what Brett just said, protecting their family.
Yeah.
You know, that's what they're after, protecting their family. You know, so I mean, this is all good things, and I'm glad we're talking about all of this. So I'll tell you what, look, let's go on to now. You got a couple events coming up or different things coming up. Share a little bit what they're in detail, where they're at, who's all going to be there, how is it working for the public, and go from there.
Yep. So again, we started the Hunt the Vote project again to activate hunters to start voting their values. And we did this somewhat, our organization did in 2016. We had big events all across the Midwest. And we had Ted Nugent, we had Michael Waddell, we had the crew out there with us. And so we doubled down on that strategy heading into 2020. Our plan was to barnstorm the Midwest, to get this message out there to as many hunters as we could that their voice matters and they need to start voting. And then COVID hit. And so we had to step back, and we've done a lot of virtual events, but now we are going back out on the road. So we are firing up the bus, and we are heading across the entire Midwest. Our first event is going to be right in Appleton, Wisconsin, right in your back door there, Doug. And we're going to have some incredible celebrities. Again, like I said, we've been blessed to have advisors across the board like Ted Nugent, Mike Waddell. The entire basically lineup of the Outdoor Channel has been a part of Hunt the Vote. So the event on September 17th, we're going to have yourself, Doug. I think you're one of our biggest celebrities that we're going to have there.
Well, I don't know if I would say a celebrity. That's funny. But yeah, I guess you got me speaking at it, which is actually pretty cool. Do a little seminar
Yes, sir.
or something. Or, yeah.
Yes, sir. And we're going to start it off, which is exciting to me. We're going to do a law enforcement appreciation luncheon at noon on that day. So anybody that wants to come and show their support for the law enforcement individuals out there who are putting their lives on the line to protect us and our community, and let them know that we defend the police, not to fund them. That's going to start off the festivities there. But then later in the evening, we're going to have Lucas Hogue, who's a Nashville country star. He's also got his own show on the Outdoor Channel called Hogue Wild. We're also going to have Travis T-Bone Turner is going to be up there with us. We got Travis coming, which is going to be awesome. We got multiple other folks. We got Mark Geis. We got Greg Stubbe. We got a bunch of our veterans friends who are out there fighting to protect the freedoms that they put their lives on the line for. So it's going to be an exciting event. Then we go from Wisconsin, and we're barnstorming Pennsylvania as our next stop. We got 3 events out in Pennsylvania at the end of September. Folks can go to huntthevote.org/events and check out our entire event schedule. Like I said, we are going to be hitting the road, and we're not stopping until November 3rd. Our idea is we're going to light a fire under the butts of hunters to get out there and vote their values this fall. And so we're going to be hitting Minnesota, Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, basically the entire part of the country that needs to hear this message where there are large pockets of hunters. We're going to be there for them.
That is absolutely awesome. I was laughing the other day. I was going through a town not too far from where we live, and it's an Amish community, and I seen a guy with a buggy with a Trump sign off the back, and I started giggling. I'm just like, you know, and I love that old joke that was on the internet not too long ago. They said, why don't you never notice there's no Amish getting COVID? And the other Amish says, because they don't have a TV, you know. And I started laughing. I mean, a computer or phone. And I started laughing. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is too funny. But, you know, I mean, in all serious, you know, all joking aside, I guess it's a serious thing. I think what you guys are doing is absolutely phenomenal. And that is why I know when Jay Fish brought this up to me quite a long time ago, he started talking to me about it. And then Josh Ishmael chimed in, and I started talking with Josh a lot about it. And he goes, oh man, you got to talk to Luke, you know. And then I went to the one that you had over there just out of Wausau, because you're originally from Merrill area, correct, Luke? Right?
Marshfield.
Okay, Marshfield area. And you got a farm down there. You grew up on a farm down there. You're a Badger. I don't know if people know that. You're an ex-Badger. Tell a little bit about your Badger stories, if you got any.
Yeah, so I had the great fortune and kind of lived every Wisconsin boy's dream. I got a chance to go and play for Barry Alvarez and the Wisconsin Badgers in the Rose Bowl. We won 2 Rose Bowls. Got to be there when Ron Dayne won the Heisman Trophy. So it was a pretty awesome time to be a Wisconsin Badger. And that kind of, I think, propelled me into my career in politics, because I just loved the fight, and I needed to be in it every day. And so that's what kind of propelled me into politics, and did that for a number of years. I ran an organization called Americans for Prosperity, and I had about 36 state chapters across the country, 3.5 million grassroots activists fighting for God, family, country, and freedom. And so I just saw Hunter Nation as a natural extension of my career, and now I get to do it, to fight for the outdoor traditions that I love, and it's a real blessing.
Well, we thank you for that. It's actually been kind of awesome to watch this journey, even though, you know, and there's so much negativity in the world today. You know, I was trying to teach my kids this as they go off their first day to school today, and they were all upset because, you know, they want to go back to some normalcy. They want to be normal. They don't want to wear a mask, and I get that, and they want to go to school full time, and they won't allow them. They don't want virtual, which, believe it or not, they don't want to be home. My son wants to play football. He wants to go out. He wants to be, you know, active with his friends. And he's bummed because this week he's got 1 day of school, 1 day. And next week he'll have 2 days until they can figure out which direction they're going in. And I heard this from a teacher, and I won't say the teacher's name. She said one thing. She said, we're just making our world dumber, because in all fairness, and I'm not sitting there trying to throw anybody under the bus, the kids are not getting enough of an education. They're struggling with that, and I'm hoping to God that it works out, for everybody, and it will, no matter which direction it will. You just got to look at the positive in it. But, with you guys doing this organization and having people out and getting a lot of people behind it, I think it's a testimony to the hunter, because, and like I shared on your podcast when I was on with you, I said the problem with America is Americans we're fighting against each other, especially in the hunting world. And that just fuels the flames for everything else, whether it be, why did you shoot that? Why didn't you shoot that? Who are you to tell me you can't shoot that? And, and it's like, it's what I call a case of the little dick syndrome. And it just gets old, I always tell people, when you go hunt and kill, it makes you happy. And I got customers already this year are texting me pictures of their plots, and with hardly no rain, and oh my God, look at this, and it's got hardly no rain, and I planted a competitor stuff next to your stuff. Look at the difference. And I'm like, well, thank you so much for sharing. God bless you. He goes, I'm a future. He said, I'm going to buy your stuff from now on. And he said, I didn't believe in it. And, that's what honestly fuels me is success of our customers. And I imagine it's no different than you, Luke. You're probably happy to hear people that are speaking up for what you're starting. And I think that's probably the whole testament of the world today. Stand up for something that you honestly believe in, that is morally right, and run with it. That's how I look at it.
Amen. And I think that's the biggest thing for us is, we've been out there. We've been to basically every hunting and trade show you could possibly imagine, spreading this message that we were going to be out there trying to get hunters to vote. And we met so many incredible people along the way, including yourself, who have literally stepped up and become a part of this movement. The cool thing for us is we've already gotten 100,000 hunters who didn't vote in 2016 to sign our pledge to vote that says they're going to stand up and speak out, and there's nothing to prevent them from getting to the polls this fall. That's why we created what we did. You go to huntthevote.org, and we've literally created a resource for every American who believes in God, family, and country to identify what the issues are, to educate themselves about where their politicians, their elected leaders stand on these issues, and how to get registered to vote and where to vote. It's an online resource. We've had over 4 million visitors to that site so far. And I got to believe, Doug, that there is a silent majority of Americans out there who've had enough of this BS. You tell them you can't go to church, but you can go to Menards. You can't go, to the grocery store and have more than 6 feet between individuals, but you can go to the liquor store and buy whatever you want. I mean, it's just this culture war that's raging in America. And I think, honestly, and I feel it every day that we're out there talking to people, that they've had enough, and they are speaking out and hopefully getting to the polls in massive numbers to represent people who still believe in the core fabric of America. And that's really what we're after in this entire project. And I just got to say, Doug, I am one of those converts to your seeds, man. I cannot believe it. When my boys and I went out and stuck your seed in the ground, you told me about how, you use the freshest seed and germination is your entire goal. And I was blown away. I went out there. It's been in the ground 2.5 weeks, and I literally have 10 inches of growth in 2.5 weeks. So hats off to you, buddy, because you are going to make some kids here in Wisconsin very excited about what they're seeing in our food plots on our farm this fall.
And honestly, Luke, that's really what I live for. I love helping people. I love educating people. I love putting good products together, good blends together that people can. And I mean, I've had this year, my phone's been blown up already. I get more, I call it deer porn. I know that's terrible. I get more deer porn and plot porn from customers sending me pics upon pic upon pic upon pic. And it's just been absolutely, absolutely awesome. So I appreciate that, though. And I tell most people, I said, it's going to be really good for the public to get out and use our stuff. And once they start using it, they understand. And as people, I said, try it, and it works out really, really good. But I appreciate you coming on board, and I'll let Brett, if he wants to say anything else here to wrap this up, if we can do that.
Yeah, the biggest thing, even if everything that's going on in the world politics-wise, you don't want anything to do with it, but you're a hunter, if you care about our public lands, if you care about hunting, if you just care about those things, you need to go out and you need to vote. You need to back the politicians that are going to help us, keep that culture going for years to come, so that we can teach our nieces, our nephews, our kids, all those things that we learned from the great outdoors, because, that's ultimately what creates good people, a lot of the good people that I know, at least. So even if you don't care about everything else that you've seen on the news, if you care about hunting, if you care about getting outdoors, if you care about getting away from, the politics maybe of everything, and having that resource out there, take some time this November and get your butt out there and vote. That's the best way I can put it.
Amen.
Nailed it.
Well, I'll tell you what, Luke, thank you very much for coming on board with us. I know you're busier than, as it can be, because I know you got a lot of things going on. I'm really looking forward to the 17th, and we'll talk a little bit more in depth what you're going to need from me. And, like I said, thank you very much for taking the time. The more we can get this out and share it, the better off we're going to be as a whole, your group, our group, just basically voicing so people can get out there and get educated. So we appreciate all you do. I know it's a journey for you, but you're doing a great job, and we really appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate people like you guys giving us the opportunity to spread this message, and being partners with you, Doug, is really important to us. So thank you all for being with us, and look forward to seeing you guys out on the road.
All right. Thank you very much, Luke. Appreciate it, brother.
Coming on, Luke.